Hello, free enterprise fans. Welcome to this edition of the Sunday Slapdash here at the last Sunday of July. I am joined by Commander Leonhardt here in the booth, and we have Gundam Pilot Spaz and Aliceal as our tracker and restreamer, respectively. How are you doing today, Commander Leonhardt?
I'm doing good, Antodale. Glad to be up here with you. Sunday Slapdash, for those of you that don't know, is a randomized set of flags that the runners don't see until about half an hour before the race starts. So they get to quickly look over the flags and figure out what they think is relevant and the best way to get through the seed.
Yeah, I imagine a number of the runners probably take notes. I know I usually break them out when I run in these to kind of uh, keep track of some of the really important things. In this particular one, it looks like one of the things that I expect to be important is that we have key items both in the main locations, the normal vanilla ones, as well as on the moon, and we have the unsafe flag turned on, which means that we might have to go to the moon in order to get underground. Um, we we've as runners been conditioned so often to go to check the summon locations, but that's not on this time. Looks like we are getting started. We have Rosa, Sid, and Bahamut heading us to Pinktail, which is one of our required objectives.
Yes. So we can't, runners won't be able to turn that in right away. They still need a hook, but that is one thing that they can cross off the list.
Some things they can cross off the list, though. They won't get another Rosa. She's the only one we'll get is that starting one. We won't get any Cecil, Palom, or Edge. And we can't have any duplicates either. And the buy is on as well. So any dismissed character cannot be retrieved from the Mysidia Tower of Wishing. How does that normally change how you play?
Wow. It narrows things down. I immediately start thinking about what my end game party is going to be. I've got my Rosa, so that slot's filled. But not having a Palom makes me think about other things in terms of a Black Mage, and not having Cecil and Edge really cuts down on the melee component. So thinking you've got Rosa, if I can find Rydia and enough other mages, maybe a Fu, then we might be on reflect strats for Z.
Yeah, that's a good point. And you might have noticed already that the shops are free and that no one's going to loot anything. That's because T is empty. All the treasure chests will be empty unless they contain the trap chests themselves, and you'll get the fight and the normal chest reward there. But shops are entirely free, and we're on S standard, so we'll see some pretty good stuff, but nothing really game breaking here in the overworld. We'll be looking for like an Elven bow for Rosa or an Ogre axe for Kane.
Yes, and none of the shops will have apples or sirens. The trap chests will be easy to spot unless they're cheekily tucked away in a pot in Castle Eblin, for instance. And of course, the key item chests in the Ribbon Room and the Feymarch will still be closed, but there'll be no problem identifying which chests those are.
Yeah, and our runners did start with a better starter kit today, so they had some pretty decent stuff to start with, plus all of the freebies that they'll get. No adamant is turned on, so we can't find adamant armor anywhere. We won't get that from turning in the Pinktail. But we do have the spoon flag turned on, so if we do find Eddie, he can equip his lovely, lovely spoon.
And both Jeebus and Poydrak are taking advantage of the free shops and supplementing that starter kit with whatever they can get their hands on. Smart play, not at all surprising.
Yep, take 99, they're free. I would know I would be looking for some maybe illusions and vampires here in the overworld. They're both possible and they can really kind of help you out, especially through the first few bosses. And actually, I just noticed that the pass is both a key item and in chests. So we will see one in the overworld and at least one in the underworld available. I think it's predisposed to doing two in the underworld. So not only will the treasure chests that are closed have a possibility of getting a pass, but also uh, the trap chest encounters. So that's a little bit spicier than we had initially thought, and that's part of the fun of Slapdash is that you read the flags and then forget a piece of it, and then read the flags again and again and again. And welcome in, Dusty Griff and Raiders. Thank you for raiding us, and hope you enjoyed this Sunday Slapdash. You can use the exclamation point flags or exclamation point objectives commands to kind of catch up with what the runners have to do in order to complete the seed.
And Goober in chat noticing the Ogre X's that Poydrak picked up. And Kaipo, that's definitely a good find. A couple of those trap chests that we mentioned are ogres, and being able to cut them down quickly is one of the few chances our runners will have at getting some high tier loot, with shops being standard.
And Jeebus is very quickly through that evil wall, Sid taking the self-sacrifice of a kamikaze and then Rosa using a vampire, and we get a white spear for it. So if we ever find Kane, he'll be very well equipped.
That's potentially some good loot. As you say, if we can find Kane, he's not one of the characters that's excluded. But that would be enough for me to pick him up, without a doubt.
Oh, absolutely. Especially because there's some Dragoon gear that's going to be free and easily available too, so he'll be well defended. Black belts and headbands are available in any shop at all. So Kane and Sid will be very well equipped. And the heroine robe as part of 4.1 was also made a tier 5 item. So if we get underground, Rosa can become a Zerker warrior quite well.
That would definitely work out well for her. Jeebus is going to head up for deals and see what we've got here, or Hobbs, excuse me. And he's going to find a Vanilla Yang and some bowling balls.
It'll be interesting to see if he decides to take this fight. I am not sure if I would actually be interested in it. Looks like he's going to back row glitch his Sid, just like Poydrak did earlier, equipping a bow and arrow or some sort of weapon that gives you the long range ability. So you can hit the full power from any row.
And he is going to take it. One of the nice things about Yang is that he doesn't have that much in the way of gear requirements. The black belts and the headbands that you mentioned earlier will serve him quite well, but he just wants some claws that are for elemental weaknesses, and those are all available on the overworld and S standard if they roll into a shop. So this could work out quite well.
Yeah, it'll be a little bit long, but it looks like he's going to do a nice cheeky strat of bouncing the vampires off of a Starveil, off of that Yang, to try and be able to hit the CPU with them and get it down a little bit faster.
He gets the roll on that one, follows up with Sid once again jumping with a bomb equipped, and that's going to get him through nicely.
That is a really heads-up play by Jeebus. That's a very good strategy to remember to use those Starveils. Remember that once you bounce an item, then it no longer counts as being a direct attack, so CPU's wall won't bounce it back at you.
Poydrak has located the cabins and is also picking up some forages in preparation for perhaps Kainazo or Odin.
And we do also have the unsafe flag turned on for shops as well, which means that our runners are not guaranteed to have found Starveils, or aren't guaranteed to find life potions or Q2s, and aren't guaranteed Cure 3 potions should there not have been a white mage in the seed. Since we knew we were starting with Rosa, that was never anything that they would have to contend with anyway. But all of those shop safety checks are turned off.
This is working on powering up that Rosa, picks up some charm arrows for a little more firepower, and we'll see what happens with Fabul defense.
Yeah, those would be a good sight better than those iron arrows she was lugging around earlier.
And there is that Kainazo. Shouldn't be a problem here, though.
No, not too much HP to make that wave actually worrisome. And having picked up an Earth Hammer, Sid's going to do a little bit better damage, and those vampires are going to do the bulk of the work here.
Yeah, you've said it before, but Jeebus is proving it, and so is Poydrak. That stack of vampires is going to do so much work in this early game. Right there, down goes Kainazo.
Yeah, they'll fade off pretty quickly once we head underground, but at least while you're up through the normal checks of at least the Baron Inn that aren't gated by key items, it's going to do wonders for you. There's a very pretty Bahamut summon should we find Rydia.
Rydia's looking better and better as we go on.
So we found no new key items, but two excellent equipables for people who we don't have yet. And we might not get because C maybe is on.
That's a good point. There is no promise that either Kane or Rydia are in the seed. It's unlikely, but every check from this point on could be one of the three characters we already see. And with no dupes on, that would mean that this would be the party for the entire run.
And Conker's in chat asking if there's a clever name for this flags. I don't think Poydrak usually has time to come up with a clever name once he randomizes what flags are going to play. So here we do have a Porum guarded by a Lunar Sparkle in the Baron Inn. And so D-Lunars. So those vampires are not going to be so useful here. Luckily, a stack of Q2s is going to do great.
Yeah, there's, I think, 400 hit points in this location, and it's split between the two T-Lunars, so toss a couple of potions or swing a hammer, and down they go.
But an angry Mom Bomb is not quite so
Behind it
pretty.
is another matter. The Mom Bomb, I mean, this spot already had 4,000 hit points before you came in, and you tack on the big bonus from Mom Bomb. I would be impressed if Jeebus was able to get through this without the explosion.
Oh, we're gonna see the explosion. I'm almost certain. But we do have the Earth Hammer equipped to do a quake at the end of it. And luckily, as long as Mom Mom doesn't one-shot anyone, these vampires are going to keep the team alive. So this will be straightforward, if just a little long.
Yeah, you might think from their appearance that the bombs that show up afterwards couldn't be quaked, that they were hovering in the air, but they do not have a float status. They are perfectly vulnerable to that shot, and almost no damage from the explosion.
And Jeeva's doing an excellent job of waiting for them all to be targetable. That's something I occasionally am a little bit too fast on. When they'll first show up and then aren't actually targetable for a little bit as a group. Kind of have to wait and make sure that your cursor is actually targeting all of them before you press the input to finish it off.
Yeah, that's a very good point. This is one of those fights where that sort of thing can get you. Magus Sisters with Mindy bringing your sisters back, Bygone regrowing his arms, all things where you need to wait and make sure you have your targets locked. And we're going to get a Darkness Crystal for Jeebus, so the moon is open.
Moon is open. The moon could then be our way underground since K Unsafe is on. It does give us another character check too, so we might be able to see an actual fifth character, and maybe someone they're a little bit more interested in leveling up to decent levels rather than Porum, who's a little bit secondary. Porum will still learn the exit spell, which Rosa has to go through Zot to do, so Porum has value all the time.
It also gives us a gated shop up at the moon. So
It does.
Jeebus takes a look in that. Now, he won't find any sirens in it. No sirens is a shot flag. But there are still plenty of other items that could be tucked away into that shop that he might find value.
Yeah, I would love to see some elixirs, or elixirs would probably be the thing I'd be most excited about. But Bacchus wine and hourglasses and coffins would also be pretty nice.
Yeah. Hourglasses in particular, I'd be hoping for. I'd be thinking about the fact that this is K unsafe, that I might have to take on some moon bosses. I'd be hoping that some of them didn't have the boss bit, something like a Dark Imps or a Baron Guards, and that would get me back underground.
And Poitrak finding a pretty nice shop in Silvera, finding the some exit spells, some cure 2s, as well as the Elven Bow, Lit Arrows, and Poison Claws for Yang.
That is definitely a beautiful shop. Also looks like he picked up a curse ring somewhere.
Oh, very nice. And I know he also picked up some Lit Arrows too in that shop. And Jeeves looks to be instantly cashing in that Darkness Crystal and going to the moon. Not too interested in going up to do ordeals at this point. which I don't blame him.
Nor do I. He doesn't have either of the ordeals combo. He doesn't have Tella, and Cecil is not appearing in the seed whatsoever. It's one key item check and 3 bosses that can only possibly be relevant if one of them is demissed. So, absolutely agree. Head straight up to the moon, see what sort of value is up there.
Or Poydrak is making that gamble. Could also be going up to get some extra levels. As you said earlier, Yang is not particularly useful until he gets some levels. And it is a key item check. Poydrak still doesn't know that there's a Darkness Crystal waiting for him in the Baron Inn. And with all those vampires, this should go by pretty quickly. It's not a huge time sink with the damage that you can pump out from them.
Though it looks like Jeebus isn't taking off to the moon just yet. Raise the whale, but is going to make sure to complete his shopping percent tour and see what else can be grabbed. And that's probably where Poydrak found the cursed ring, because Jeebus just found it in Silvera.
This is one of those shops that I often kind of skip because it's a little bit awkward to get to if I don't remember to actually do it in between going to Fabul or doing ordeals. So I would probably have missed out on all this stuff. Good checking by the runners in this shopping heavy percentage of free enterprise, since there is nothing available at all in normal chests except the pass.
Is out of the way, and especially with tea empty. On some other tea sets, you can duck in and make 3 quick checks in the grass as you're shopping, and you have that little extra incentive. But that's not the case here. Poydrak on ordeals has found our second bowl of vanilla with Mylon in the Mylon and Friends spot.
And also finds another fight where Vampire doesn't help too much for quite a while. All those Revenants or zombies will have will be undead, so you can't actually Vampire them. They would have drained you instead of draining the enemy. So just gonna take a little bit longer.
They did fall pretty quickly to... Is that the Earth Hammer he broke out and then switched to the Ogre Axe afterwards?
Could be, I missed that. But Earth Hammer would definitely be a good way, and I know I saw a couple of Lit Bolts go down too.
Well, Antidale, the elixirs you wanted on the moon are there.
Yeah, that's a good feeling. Now it means you don't actually really need cabins as long as you have life potions. And you're set in pretty much any fight for keeping everybody up. As long as you can keep up with the damage just a little bit.
To back attack Dark Elf. This too should not be a problem.
No, it's a little unpleasant just because Dark Elf takes so long sometimes with all these spells and the picky and the weak. But the vampires, again, will clean it up pretty straightforwardly. And on the moon, we do indeed get a vanilla foo like Chad had been asking for.
Gundam called it. And the vanilla count is now 3.
Ooh, and Fu already has Quake. That is nice to see. And Ice 3. So Fu has already got a couple of good spells for damage. Definitely increases this team's damage potential significantly, as well as having Cure 3 and Life 2 and Blink. For this early, that's a pretty nice Fu.
And that is a very strong Fu to begin with. That's gotta make Jeebus feel a lot better about knocking some things out. Looks like he's taking off, so I suspect... Oh, this is
So
what
a hairdryer check.
Runners. I thought we had a K value check, but it looks like he's going for hairdryers.
And this is where the hourglasses you mentioned would have been really nice to be able to just freeze the hair dryers and get a good and huge burst of XP. He'll get a decent one from this, but not quite as much as you might want. It'll be a little bit trickier. But with a cursed ring, being able to equip the Elven Bow, we'll see if he gives someone that cursed ring to make Fu go off at RA1. So you can get the spells off really quickly. Fu also might just be fast enough at this point to have it be not a big deal. Because it looks like that is a Porum in the middle.
Kind of a similar thought to dealing with the Sylph Trap chests. You get someone in with Quake and tag the ghosts before they can take any action. Poydrak's finding the Baron guards inside the Ordeal's tomb and going to have any big deal. And sure enough, Jeebus run buffers in a quake and fires it before anyone does any action, and away go the heretics. Well executed.
Yep, and Porum picks up a good 16 levels because she does get a slingshot off of that. So she picked up 60,000 rather than the 30,000 everyone else did. At least I think both Yang and Rosa are 5 levels above her, but it might not have actually been. A Bacchus wine is a pretty good reward.
And I did not see what the ordeal's reward was, but I see nothing lit up on the tracking menu. So I'm thinking it was loot. Did Antidale or anyone in chat, did anyone else catch what it was?
Gundam Pilot Spaz, our tracker says it was a wizard hat.
Thank you for the tracking.
So an okay piece of gear, but nothing Poydrak is probably too happy with, given the time he just spent getting that. Poydrak does know that he's on a Deimist hunt or has the Baron Inn available to him to get any progression at all, though, so he'll probably make a beeline straight to the Baron Inn.
And he does indeed. Jeebus, meanwhile, is taking a look into cave value, see who the boss is, and if he feels like taking it out. But he's gonna go for it. He's going after that Golbez.
Yeah, as long as Fu has Piggy or Size, this is free. It might take a while. It looks like he has both, so he has an option. Probably want to size the mages and Piggy. Definitely Sid. Oh, he's gonna leave Sid. There we go. The reason why you'd want to leave Sid and Yang possibly as... kind of surprised he's not doing anything to Sid. He might just be exploding Sid, like he's been doing a bunch. With that Earth Hammer, if he has it, and the Fire Claw will do a little bit extra damage to Golbez because he's weak to fire.
Is it I almost wonder if Sid picked up a crystal ring somewhere and he's using that. Nope, he's accepting him being paralyzed. And now it's the RNG, or as some people say, the board face AI, who gets demolished. That works out well. There was already a wall up on Fu, so nice that didn't go to waste.
Yep, works out well. Would have liked to have kept Rosa up personally, but we'll probably be doing just fine. Yeah, here's comes out some extra lives and stuff.
And Jeebus is just flying through the menus, getting so many commands put in, which while Golbez finishes out his script.
Yeah, doing a really good job of menuing while there are other things going on the screen when normally it's just dead time anyway. So he's making sure that the all that animation time is actually put to good use in terms of getting items cast and used and stuff when you would need to. This is going to be a little bit of a long of a fight just because the magic power here is a little bit low. Because normally Mega Nuke is very, very strong, so they tone it down a little bit here in the Bahamut spot.
Yep, low magic power and high hit points does not make for a quick Golbez, and this spot has both of them. I would be worried in his shoes about the Star Veils actually wearing off before the end of the fight, and would be keeping an eye on reapplying them.
Yeah, that could be some why he's just getting everybody up to kind of hold off on the targets. The more people who can attack in a turn, the better off he's going to be. Poydrak is doing a little bit of checking for Demist, finds Asura in the vanilla Demist spot, and is now going to summon the big whale.
Yeah, and having checked ordeals, he knows that there's no hope for getting underground left on Earth. He's hit all of the spots, and the K unsafe is a certainty.
Yeah, well, I don't know if either runner checked the Waterfall Cave, and I'm almost entirely certain no one went up to check the Mega Sisters Vanilla spot. Either of them are possible locations for Team Mist who could have underground access, but it's really unlikely. And I would agree
It,
with this play from both runners.
it's true. I often forget about that Magic Sisters demist troll, but Poydrak did duck into the waterfall. There was a sparkle there, I believe, but I don't remember which one.
Yep, and there's that Star Veil falling off. But the magic power here is not very high and is not able to take out the level 26 Porum. And also, one of the things with that flag set, this is not going to yield a key item. This is just going to be experience for Jeebus. Because we have K-Main and Moon on, but not summon or quest items.
That's a good point. We brought that up at the beginning, but it had still escaped my mind with so many other things going on. So we'll see what treasure Jeebus is rewarded with here.
And we are rewarded with Golbez's favorite letter, the letter Y.
We're also rewarded with Medio and Wall on Fu, and some lovely Dragoon armor.
And Jeep is doing a good job of showing us that post-battle text that you can get if you go talk to the boss there. You're welcome.
That is why we call it K value.
The value is always real, it's just not always positive. Poydrak getting the good news of the Fu and the Lunar Dais.
His Fu is probably going to be more powerful. Certainly,
absolutely.
Spells, having gone through ordeals, the question is, what spells are they?
Nothing too good in the black magic. Looks like just Ice 2 and Lit 1 as extra spells. But Cure 4, I think, is new, as well as Cure 2. For important ones for the white magic.
Slow might have some niche uses against some bosses, but with a Cursed Ring, probably not as big a deal. He at least has the Meteo that Jeebus had to fight Golbez for.
Yeah, and both Porum and Rosa do come equipped with slow right away, so you don't have to use Fu's turn in order to slow the bosses down up here, which will be useful for him.
True enough. There's certainly a good supplement of utility white magic already on his team. Jeebus taking the first look at a lunar subterranean boss at the Murasame altar and finds a Wyvern.
Oh, baby.
Well, he's certainly not running low on Star Veils. But we have Wyvern on, which, again, so many things going on in Slapdash. It's not a Mega Nuke, it's a Globe 199.
Yeah, I assume that Jeebus had remembered that because he only had Fu Star Veil, probably as a preventative measure, and then just the single Globe 189. Not too bad.
The Star Veil reflex is strong, however.
Oh yes. It is well ingrained to panic Star Veil.
Yang shrugging off that nuke by the skin of his teeth. Strong. Also weak nuke.
And getting some Zerks out to get some buffering going on in terms of damage. And just prolonging the turns in between the nukes. Poor Porum, not going to survive this one, unfortunately.
No, but this is what it is in a Wyvern fight after the initial shot. Just tossing life potions to keep up with the bounced nukes and working through the damage. And that is the thing about K Unsafe, is that if you end up with a trap like this, you're going to have to employ some tech and look at some fights that you might have passed on due to the time, and instead look at it and go, at least I know this one is possible.
Yeah, absolutely. And it looks like we saw Fu dodge a reflected nuke, which is some very good news for Jeebus.
Saves you one life potion.
Yeah, I was able to get an elixir up on the Yang, so that Yang can maybe take another nuke to the face and live through it.
Fu not getting the dodge there, but showing that he's got some solid magic resistance gear and doing just fine for the moment.
Yep, and those elixirs will come in handy too with this pretty long fight and prolonging Fu's magic supply.
Yeah, because the quake spam that he's hitting Wyvern with to get around Wyvern's wall is about is easily the biggest thing he's got going for him. Poydrak instead is going to take a different approach to clearing out the moon, and instead of going top down.
Yeah, I would say that he's probably going to go look for an easier fight off the beginning, since you have that density of bosses down at the bottom, both in terms of bosses and key item possibilities.
And Wyvern's getting a little better with the targeting. Got 2 down on Jeebus' side.
Yeah, I think that damage is starting to pile up a little bit though, and there indeed is Wyvern down.
Might be missing getting the levels on the 2 people that fell, but probably just glad to be through. Legend Sword is a key item, but not terribly helpful.
No, I mean, Kogol's shop will be free, it will be stocked with lots of goodies, but not terribly interesting.
Poydrak found Paledem at the White Spear altar and said no thank you, and finds Karate at the Ribbon Room and is going to give this one a go.
This is doable with enough blanks. It's not going to be easy though.
He's got 3 people, I believe at these levels, he's got 3 people that know Blink, so you set up a Blink spam to deal with the attacks, and you heal through the kicks, and you can get through it. It will not be pleasant, but with K unsafe, when you've got to go through here to get underground, sometimes that's what you've got to do.
Yeah, absolutely. You're really hoping for one easy-ish boss who has your progression underground in this kind of seed, so you can just bail, or maybe a boss that you can cheese really, really nicely.
Dark Imps with this Fu would be nice. Fu probably has something in his utility belt that can deal with them.
Oh baby, that is a lot of spice.
And everyone in chat is hoping that that's required. That is the dreaded alt gauntlet at Ogopogo.
Now, I missed who is in the Paledem spot. Poydrak has probably checked that since he is going to check a trap chest instead.
Paledem is where he fought Wyvern.
I mean, yes, I'm at the White Spear altar.
Oh, the White Spear altar?
Yeah, the plague spot.
He did nope out of it. Dang it. I saw it. I said it out loud and has already passed my mind.
Oh, it was Paledem at...
it was Paledem. Right, that's why everything's crossed up. It was Paledem. Thank you, Gundam. Tracker, keeping the commentary straight.
And Jeep was doing a little bit of manipulation of his agility. Porum was at 0 agility with that curse string on, which meant that she was going first, which is 100% not what Poydrak wanted here. So he switches the curse string over to Sid, so that Sid will be at 1 agility, and so that Fu will actually go first, because in that Warlock carry fight, that's going to be the important thing to happen. And Karate doing an absolute number on Jeebus's party.
Tearing through, it's a rough fight, and there's no hope of finding Cecil to come back here later and go, ouch. If you want this fight, you're going to have to go through this HP. Boydrak, in the meantime, is opening up trap chests. Could be looking for both XP and good loot to help power up the party for this difficult moon.
Yeah, it does have a large stack of illusions that I don't know if we saw Jeebus have. I imagine Jeebus found some, but I didn't see him use any yet. Unless he just did, and I was mistaking them for all blinks.
He's used a couple, so presumably he has the full stack. But even so, it's just swing after swing. You can curse your people to get, you can curse one of your people to catch everyone else up, but you're still dealing with an RA1 boss that's just going swing, kick, and Jeebus is resetting out.
Yeah, and unlike your normal Yongs, the kick here is going to do a lot of work.
If only you could kick that strong in our party, there'd be calls for nerf, I'm sure.
Well, I mean, the 4-500 isn't that strong, but it's that strong when your party is this low level, and you just don't have the time to get anything up. And the carry script includes hugs and then retreats, so Boydrak is going to get through this, but not really get a lot of XP for it. Unless you get XP on the retreat, but I don't think you do.
Yep, a little bit here and there, and he is apparently just after levels because he resets out without even checking to see what the loot was.
And LSLR restreamer disclaiming all responsibility for this. Boydrak is indeed responsible entirely for what he has done to himself, as he is every Sunday. This is Boydrak's club that he started over a year ago, and is such a great way of learning different facets of the game and being pushed into places that you don't normally see or be part of.
It is a lot of fun for that reason. Sometimes you do get some perfect storm like what we're seeing here. Other times it's interesting but not quite as brutal, but it is certainly never dull here at Sunday Slapdash.
No, it's such a good test of thinking on your feet and reading the flags and reading the seed and trying to just apply all of your knowledge of free enterprise and the base game to just try and push through as best you can. There are definitely some seeds of this where it is all about actually surviving to the end more than it is about winning or placing well.
It puts the dedication of never forfeit to the test. Boydrak trying to throw some toads out at the warlocks and carries. It's tough for it to land. He does manage to mute the warlock, so that's one less thing to worry about.
Yeah, definitely taking one person out of that equation is very nice, and being able to keep up the illusions and blinks everyone will be able to kind of outlast all the carries.
Shame you can't reflect a hug.
I feel like that should be on a t-shirt somewhere. But Jeebus is hanging on in this karate fight this time around, able to get the blinks and cures going, getting some damage going, too, it looks like. So this will be a little bit of a lengthy fight, just like his Wyvern one, but it feels promising so far.
So, unless I've missed it, have either of our runners checked the Vanilla Wyvern spot, the Crystal Sword Altar?
No, Boydrak has not gone all the way there. He kind of stopped at the trap chest looking for levels, and has just been so unable to get any of those toads to land. He's switching food to the middle to hopefully get a little of an accuracy bonus from that. Unfortunately, it loses his RA1 status, so it's going to be a little bit harder to keep everyone alive at start. But as long as you get able to get that toad off, he'll be fine.
So, Crystal Sword Altar could be our out, because other than that, rude moon for this K unsafe.
Yeah, absolutely. I am curious if going back down to ordeals is something Jeebus is considering at this point. I feel like he's probably committed, but he might see that Ogopogo there, or that Gauntlet and Ogopogo, and decide just to get more spells on Fu.
That is a good point. There's a definite tendency when you go up to the moon to commit to it. The time you spend flying on the big whale, the time walking down LST, you don't want to repeat that process any more times than are absolutely necessary. But he does still have a key item check and 3 bosses on ordeals that could be helpful. Of course, we know that the key item check won't help him any. It's just a wizard hat, but he doesn't have that.
It looks like we might be switching from Toad to Size in order to make the carries and Warlock much smaller targets who have much fewer defenses and will do a lot less damage to the party too.
And he does get that size to land. Meanwhile, Jeebus got through and found an adamant in one of the chests.
I missed the first item, but that's a full-fledged Excalibur that no one can use.
Or even throw. It just, as you said, opens up the best shop in the game.
And you can sell it for $0 since it is free shops.
Worst Excalibur ever.
Oh, it looks like it was the Rat Tail was the other. So Jeebus has he has both the tails. Is just now looking for the Magma Key away underground. Actually, Magma Key and Hook are both required, as well as the package.
So the Ribbon Room is completely required, and Jeebus moves on to another boss that focuses on the physical side of battle.
Yeah, doing a very wise job of switching Yang to using the Poison Claws, which are non-elemental, because Pale Dim takes half damage from physical elements and will absorb any magical elements cast at him.
And to show his gratitude for you being foolish enough to heal him, he will respond with a Quake. Odrak has taken down one of the carries and is working through the other ones.
Yeah, just taking it slow and steady, making sure you can get all the XP on his characters to make any of these future fights
And since he's got them sized, he's going with the Life 2 glitch. Now, the Life glitch, we know, you toss it on an enemy with no vitality and they immediately die. But a Life 2 glitch, you get your XP, you bring them back full hit points, but you also bring them back with eyes that's been inflicted on them in this case, so you can repeat the process for as long as you're willing to pump Life 2s into them. Now, with a full stack of elixirs, could be a while.
Yeah, we can do this effectively and definitely and get all the levels that we care to. Gale Guy in chat asking, so why are we fighting carries on the moon? And what are the events that made this the logical step? Well, our flag set includes key items in the main spots as well as moon, but not summon. And we do have the unsafe flag turned on, which means that we can have the route to the underworld go through the moon. Which, unless the Demist has one of the ways underground and is hiding at the Mega Sister spot, is absolutely true. We've had a couple of rude bosses that are hard to take down, especially with the low levels in this party. And since the T flag is set to empty, so there's no treasures, we don't have particularly great loot. So Podrak is here just getting lots of levels at this point to make the rest of his job easier. Jeebus has found a couple ways through some bosses that Podrak hasn't fought or hasn't completed yet. So Jeebus is able to do a couple things Podrak hasn't yet. But Podrak should be finishing his fight out once he's done getting a bunch of levels with that Life 2 grind that Commander Leonhardt just talked about.
And just from a status as an observer in here, you mentioned that this is Podrak's club and that he set this up and does it every week. Jeebus is, of course, a very fine runner and knows his way around Free Enterprise. Watching the two of them have to tackle such a rough seed and the strats that they're employing to get by is a lot of fun.
Yeah, absolutely. It makes it really interesting to see. And it's just nice to see all the different strategies that you don't always see. Like, I don't think I've ever seen anyone doing a Life 2 grind on the Warrior Kraylock or the Carry Warlock chest. But it's a great piece of game knowledge to know that it's here. And there is Nuke and a Spoon for Jeebus.
That is going to pick up the pace for Jeebus, having gotten enough bosses to get Nuke online.
And I think that means Podrak is just a boss away.
I think you're
knew. Jeebus has taken out 4 bosses here on the moon. He's taken out Golbez at the Bahamut spot, as well as Wyvern at Pale Dim's location, Karate at the D-Lunar spot, and now Pale Dim at Plague's location, where Jeebus totally skipped Ordeals. So he is just one boss up on Podrak.
And is Jeebus going for the alt gauntlet? It looks like he is.
Has Jeebus checked this yet? Does he know that it's here?
Good question. Let's see. Okay, apparently not.
Yeah, that's a tall ask. I know we've seen Dragoon gear, so Sid actually was able to make it out of those dragon fights, however slow it's going to be for him, but the rest of the encounters are going to be awfully rough. If that is our progression, this is one heck of a seed.
You love to see it and you hate to see it. But Jeebus is now going to give us our last unknown moon boss at the Crystal Sword Altar.
There's a lot of bosses that would be rude up here. Ogopogo would be pretty awful. D-Mist would be really slow but doable. This is a very, very high physically attacking spot, but low on magic.
Oh,
hey, there's our bonus round. This is going to take forever. Well, Nuke will speed it up, but
you're right. This spot has... It is actually the lowest hit point spot on the moon, so if you had to find a D-Mist somewhere, you'd pick here, but that is still a relative term. In this case, 25,000 hit points, and D-Mist is going to cycle back between Mist and punching you. The good news is that you get the chance to recover a bit while D-Mist is hanging out in Mist form. The bad news is your nuke is just going to disappear, well, into the Mist.
Yeah, this will be, what, 5 rounds or so, probably? Unless you can get a couple of nukes off in a specific round.
Agreed. He might slip some slows in off of the white mages if he hasn't done that already, to try and keep D-Mist in dragon form long enough to get around for a second nuke. Or he might just be so busy with blinks that he doesn't have time for that.
Yeah, I think now that he's got the blinks up as a base, he's able to kind of not have to worry about it too much. And meanwhile, Podrak is still going strong in his grind.
Take whatever grind you can get with these flags. Whatever it takes to get you through when you get dealt a K unsafe like this.
Yep, and Podrak will be very ready to take on probably anything except maybe the that gauntlet once he's done with this.
I'm not sure anyone's ever ready for that gauntlet.
Fu might not have life 1, but if you're talking about Poydrak's side, he's using it for the grind for life 2. I don't know if you're talking about Jeebus or Poydrak's side there, Gundam.
Yeah, the reason for the life 2 on the Grind Gundam is that it brings the person back, at the monster, at full HP. So instead of just glitching them once to get double the XP, you can life 2 them and take them down, and do that over and over and over as long as you run out of MP. But more importantly, Jeebus has found the way to escape the moon. He has the magma key.
Yep, so exceptionally required demiss there. It's both our underground access and gets the drop the magma key into the well objective completable. And Jeebus probably making the wise decision to never ever go back to a spot again unless he has to.
Now, Left-Footed Sultan's a little disappointed, but don't count that gauntlet out yet. We still have to find a package and a hook to complete this. The hook's needed to turn in both of the rat tails, and the package is needed to burn down the village mist. So if either of those are tucked behind that gauntlet, then Jeebus and Poydrak are going to have to make their way back up to the moon.
And Poydrak did get a pretty nice reward beyond just those levels of an Artemis bow from that trap chest.
That is a lovely, lovely bow to speed up one of your archers and deal a lot of damage to anything that she would care to shoot at. Or he. It could be Sid, but I feel like it would go on one of the ladies.
It very well might. I might just put it on Sid anyway and leave Rosa and Porum around to slow and blink and do all sorts of things, but the Earth Hammer is pretty solid.
True. At least Sid isn't going to worry too much about having his spellcasting stats weakened by the Artemis bow.
Exactly.
Jeebus discovering the vanilla fight that Poydrak saw here earlier, and with the power of this Fu, he's going to roll right through it.
Yeah, this is going to be a real straightforward ordeals for him. That will be much faster than what Poydrak went through earlier. Skipping the Oh My Body from Mylon, unfortunately. It's, one of the favorite things.
And Alisei is correct with our vanilla count. We've seen a vanilla Fu, we saw a vanilla Antlion, and Mylon and friends there was the third. Those stacks of kamikazes look a lot better after he gains some levels.
Oh yeah, these self-sacrifices are going to go much faster and do a little bit more. And since Fu has pretty much learned all of the important spells at this point, we're just happier about getting the extra HP on him than anything else.
By the prickling of my thumb, something vanilla this way comes.
Yep, and Jeebus says, no, I don't need any of that stuff. Those spells that Fu got aren't very important. And I definitely don't need a wizard hat from up here, so I get to reset straight out and save a little bit of time.
Quickly running over to Rydia's mom, not forgetting his Demas check, as I can often do if I don't do it right away. Finds a tower key. It at least opens up another key item spot to check, and he has access to that with his magnet key.
Yeah, it lets you very efficiently do the entire tower in one go, rather than having to go up and then back down and then come back up again.
almost hour in, coming up on 55 minutes, we're finally going to have a restreamed runner complete an objective. Thank you, K Unsafe.
I'm a little sad that we got the magma key first and not the hook, just because the well that's gone is one of my favorite little bits of extra flavor. When you drop the magma key down the well when the way is already open.
It is one of the nice lines, definitely.
Well, what do you think is going to be the route for Jeebus once he gets underground? Does he go straight to the Fey Mart to pick up the free key item there and maybe do a little shopping, or does he go straight up to the tower to take care of those 2 key item checks, or is it something entirely different?
I think check your freebies is the move. Even with no summon key summon on, dive Fey March, grab that key item, and then hit Sheila 1 and come back up to Fabul and run those and see if that gives you any part of what you're missing. You're only 2 key items away from go mode. Just a hook and a package.
Yeah, it's definitely a very, very reasonable play. I might be tempted to do the tower since I am more than 1 key item away. Neither of these 2 checks can get me both. But it's very, very reasonable to check this, get the 1 free one. It's very fast, and then get the heck out and never ever come back.
Gungnir, not what he had in mind, I'm sure. But he will at least get a look at the shops, which so far are also not what he had in mind.
We get infinite essence of Asura here in the shop, so that's kind of apropos.
And just to troll that Gungnir in the chest, they're also available free in the shop.
So is that just like a leftover bit of stock? Like that chest is the overstock of the Fey March world?
Seems like it. The free sample that you put out to entice people to come into your store.
Where you continue to give away things for free. That's a business plan. But Jeebus has definitely remembered that the summon bosses don't have anything for him, so that Golbez was pretty much purely an XP Fu power-up move, I think, earlier.
Agreed. And he's heading into Sheila 1, and we will see if Sheila has the goods, at least for the first part. Koidrak, meanwhile, is making his way through the moon, have an easier time of it after that Life 2 grind, and is taking on Karate Man and Microwaving.
And if we're to buy into the mythology that Rivers McCown has for turning in the Sheila checks, he always seems to believe, from a purely mythological standpoint, there is no basis for this in code, that if you have Yang in your party, Sheila's more likely to give you good stuff. So we'll see if that comes into fruition today.
Now, in this mythology, does it matter if you hide Yang in your party, or if you just show Sheila directly to her face that Yang is not in the underworld?
That is a detail I do not know, and maybe the next time we get a chance to interview Rivers on any race, when it's not a very busy season for him for Other Life, maybe we'll be able to get that information.
I hope someone asks him. Well, Sheila is handing over a pass, and that can certainly be considered value, considering all of the objectives that hand over the crystal are on Earth.
Yeah, so unless that gauntlet has one of our 2 required key items, Jeebus does not have to go back to the moon. I think chat secretly, and not so secretly, wants Jeebus to have to go back to the moon now.
It's a pretty open desire, I would say. I would agree with you there. So what is Jeebus's next move? We don't have a warp glitch making Dwarf Castle attractive, so Tower is the 2 double hit, and that is indeed where Jeebus is going.
Poijar getting the good news that he's found the rat tail, so only needs 3 more key items. He has not yet done the wyvern at the top of the underground and pale dim spot, so it doesn't have the ready-made X-Cal. and more importantly, the Kogol shop available to him.
And even though there's only one objective down on Jeebus' side and soon to be one objective down on Poydrak's side as he's heading in the right direction, our runners have still in the hour managed to clear a good amount of the key item checks available to them. Jeebus still has the tower here to clear and a couple of rude spots left behind on the moon, but everything else is still locked up.
Yeah, this is a pretty linear seed, which I think they tend to be when you have the unsafe flag actually kick in. Sometimes it opens up a lot once you get underground, but this one didn't really at all. It's interesting with keeping Fu in the middle here. I don't know if this will go quite as fast for Poydrak as it did for Jeebus. Since you won't really be able to leverage the nuke quite as well.
Jeebus finding Pain Man at the top of the tower. We can't recruit him into the party, but he's going to possibly show up sooner or later. Does a real quick duck into his menu, probably to look at some hit point totals, and then charges on it.
Yeah, this shouldn't be too scary of a Pain Man here. He is much more painful, say, where Golbez was at the Bahamut spot.
Yeah, 300 hit points a shot is a tickle for anyone other than that point.
Yeah, Porum not really going to make it through. Yeah, Jeebus taking a little bit of time. Does life Porum up a little bit too fast to get the XP here, but then is able to redo it and get Porum back up before the Speechifying begins.
Justice is not the only tower in this world. There is also Zout.
Now, something that's interesting here with this, since we don't have sirens, and normally the moon is your good XP at the end of the game because you have 10 key items and you get lots of XP. But Jeebus has already done all of the moon except the gauntlet. So he doesn't have a lot of XP left on the board that is going to be excellent for him.
That is a very good point. With it does have E-toggle though. So once he has a darkness crystal, once he gets weak on Fu, if he doesn't have it already, always go and D-machine grind and get the levels he needs. But using the moon as a leveling up mechanism is ruined often when you have the K unsafe kick in.
Yeah, if he does have a low enough agility anchor and, like, say, that Porum with a curse ring, he could employ some of the single character strats, especially with the elixirs available to the party, and Fu could just handle Zeromus on his own. And I'm pretty sure Jeebus is well enough familiar with them to pull that off.
It'll be interesting to see once they hit go mode how they best decide what they feel is the best way, Jeebus and Poydrak respectively, to go after Z.
Yes, and Chad is pointing out that the Alt Gauntlet is there for a grind. That's a heck of an option.
It'll get you what you need, but you will pay a price.
Yeah, and it might not get you what you need on all of the characters that you want to, which is my biggest fear with trying to rely on that, especially in that location.
True. You just might be trying to get through the fights, and whoever lives, lives. And as you point out, once you get done, then you're not going to necessarily have the experience you need.
And Jenica Strife in chat asking what the numbers are above the timers. And they are what objectives exist and have been completed. So when they're lit up, like number 3 is for Jeebus, that means Jeebus has completed that objective. And they do correspond with the listed objectives there in the middle of the screen.
Jeebus found the Baron key at the top of the tower, and on the way out, finds a ribbon. That would have been useful in several places that we've seen already.
Yeah, absolutely would have been nice for the Golbez fight to make sure that someone wouldn't get munched on by the Shadow Dragon, and give some extra good defense for this Wyvern fight that Poydrak's about to run into. Poydrak isn't as well set up for the agility here with that Fu in the middle. Not as big of a deal since it's just going to be Globe 199.
But he is going to have to try and keep up with a very fast Wyvern. And without people at RA1, their turns aren't going to come in as quickly, and it's going to make the race a little more difficult. Does get a nuke in, though, before the wall even comes up. Though he's just going to bounce for those nukes in a little bit.
Yeah, that is one thing that'll make this fight a little bit easier for Poidrak than Jeebus did, since Jeebus had to do this with Quake spam instead of just nukes. And Jeebus finally finds life potions in the Dwarf Castle item shop.
That's going to be a terrific find. As you pointed out earlier, once elixirs are on board, life is about the only thing you're missing, and now it has been found.
And I didn't see any sprites, so I think this might be Antlion.
Good call. I didn't see a sprite either, and it is indeed the Antlion. Not quite enough to get the job done there, only missed by about 1k, so this even less than that, so that shot will take it down right there. The benefit of K unsafe is that once you've gotten yourself through that ruling moon and made your way back down, you can start tearing through the underground.
Yeah, really nothing is going to frighten you anymore at this point. And Yang is doing even appreciable damage, and here's one of the fights that they would have loved to have seen up on the moon. Edge's parents, the King Queen Evelyn, nice and free.
Yeah. If I'm in Jeebus' shoes, I'm probably at least sternly asking this King Queen Eblon, why weren't you on the moon where you would have been useful? One Quake is going to take them out. No need to wait for the script. In fact, go ahead and take a moment to rearrange your inventory a little bit before creepy hand crawls around and you get your key item.
Yep, and Fu is now at full power, has all the spells, has all his HP that he's going to get from leveling.
He is fully armed and operational.
Poidrak also making the very wise call to just totally ignore that gauntlet at Ogopogo and only come back if absolutely required.
Chat talking about some of their favorite witch burns. We had the community race not too long ago where Wyvern lanced and suddenly all of the foos did an about face.
Yes, I was very glad that I didn't have to defeat that Wyvern in that race. That would have been a little obnoxious. There was enough there to handle that without it. And Judge Infinius asking in chat, what's the hook for this seed? Well, the hook is that the random flags that Poidrak rolled up today had a lot of unsafe things in it. We had to go to the moon to get underground. We have a lot of characters that we'd like to see not actually be available in the seed. There's no Cecil, there's no Edge. There's only the single Rosa. And shops are free, but only standard. And we have nothing in treasure chests except passes and summit and the trap chest monsters and fights.
Gale guy in chat asking what the Witchburn is, and chat doing a good job answering. Mega Nuke gets replaced with a random attack. Could be anything.
Yeah,
Some of them have been tailored to not hit the entire party because too rude. Fission or Globe 199, but who knows what it is.
And it's one of the 3 flags available for Wyvern. We can either, well, really 2 flags and then the absence of a flag. Wyvern can be normal with Mega Nuke, or can have Wyvern on, which means he doesn't do anything at all. He just kind of pauses for that first turn and then immediately goes into his wall nuke script. Or it can have Witchburn on.
Marty asking if Witchburn could be Mega Nuke. I don't know. I feel like that would be the ultimate troll and shouldn't be allowed, and yet it would be the ultimate troll.
The phrasing of how it is on the website leads me to believe that it should not be. It replaces Mega Nuke, which to me kind of means that it has to be something different than Mega Nuke. Um, but I don't. The board is the only person who could actually definitively answer that. That is a very good shot for Kane with the power shirts, defense sword, and white spear, and both Sid and Yang will enjoy those power shirts a lot. The protect rings are also very, very nice.
White Spear, we did find way back in Antlion. So
yeah, so we don't need more of them.
And the power shirt, absolutely, and those will still be lovely for the people that are still in the party. Avalis has taken Kenazo's place as the power behind the throne. This also will not be a problem.
Nope, the Kamikaze does miss though because of the high magic defense here.
It looks like it did, and I did not realize that if a Kamikaze missed, that the person that tried to sacrifice themselves would survive.
Yeah, that is something that happened that most commonly people learn during when they play an Appleseed if they're going for some Kamikaze strats during one of those to do a lot of the damage early. Because you can then figure out when Zeromus is exactly targetable by when your people actually explode on him rather than just kind of fake him out a little bit.
History of this randomizer. I still have not gotten around to an Appleseed. It's only been since Fabul Gauntlet that I dove into this.
Yeah, the Appleseeds are pretty interesting. I don't like running them all the time, but they definitely have their particular flavor and are fun and super jetty most of the time. And Appleseed is when you have usually free shops and wild shops so that you can get apples and get the J attack items that are HP based. So you can just kind of apple everybody up, don't worry about levels, and just start throwing attack items out all over the place.
Variants in the party here as a duplicate monk that we're not allowed to bring along comes in. In a moment, we'll see what's in the trash can.
And Poitrak, like Jiva's form, making very quick work of the Baron, of the fighting down here in the underworld.
Jeebus has picked up a Luca key. Now, one of the things in the flag set is that while encounters can be turned on and off, the doors are kept. This party's not going to be too afraid of the doors, though, but Jeebus will have to go through at least 3 trapdoor fights to check this key item.
Yeah, so it definitely makes this a little bit more of an expensive check than normal. And Mr. Bus Driver in chat asking if music was missed. Nope, neither runner has yet checked music. Jeebus does have the Twin Harp available to him, but has not made the decision to go check that quite yet.
Gundam Pilot, like many of us, is feeling that Alt Gauntlet hype. Still 2 things to find, and the odds grow larger and larger each time it doesn't come up that our runners are going to have to make their way through.
Yeah, so we are down to the Luca Key, the Earth Crystal, and the Pan. The 1 check off of Sheila 2, because we already know Sheila 1.
Right. Even the Pan Bonk itself will not be a key item check, as that's the Sylph summon and case summon it off.
And then we do also have the rat tail turn in, which could give us uh, the wouldn't be able to give us the hook, but could give us the package.
And if, as Beowulf is theorizing, there's a chain that leads to the hook that's blocked by the old gauntlet, then we'll get there even faster, as those will be closed off to the runners and they will realize. Poydrak, though, worth interrupting, man of the people, finds that Job Dwarf is a hearing officer.
That is definitely a heroic check here in a game where there is nothing going to be in that room except that dwarf telling us what his job is. And there are some great
Up
heroine
nearby.
roads.
That's fun times. Just setting up this time for the second door, looking over agility, probably wants to, might just go for it direct or might try to bounce the disrupt.
Yeah, there's some specific setups where you can get Fu or your white mage to get a turn in the correct order to where you're able to bounce that disrupt right away. It's a little bit tricky sometimes, though. It might be worth it to give Rosa the Artemis bow and stick her up top and Fu in the middle to slow the door down enough, but Rosa be fast enough to be able to get that done.
I like it. Definitely like the thought. He does get the disrupt in and has the trapdoor take themselves out.
Although Jeebus did not ever pick up that Artemis bow from the trap chest and hasn't, I don't think, been into Tamra at all to get the heron ropes to manipulate Rosa's agility either. So he's a little bit stuck in terms of what he can do to kind of change the fate there.
Did not, however, remember to turn encounters off. That's gotten me at times. Fortunately, he can run from them, and it looks like he's not even going to bother. He's just going to charge straight ahead and run from things as necessary.
And taking the time to cabin up a little bit before he goes. Meanwhile, Poydrak has checked the Fame March, gotten the wonderful free Gundyr Spear that is of no use, and then is heading up the tower after having defeated Dwarf Castle.
Along in Jeebus's wake. Still plenty of time to make things up, depending on how this plays out at the end. Particularly if Luca is a huge time loss for Jeebus and Poydrak is able to avoid doing that and opts for, say, Twin Heart with value.
Yeah, that would definitely, I think, have to be how Poydrak makes up a significant amount of time, or makes some other similar gamble. But we will see if we do have value here or not fairly shortly.
Okay, unsafe, your biggest block is going to be when it comes in. How quickly are you getting off the moon and getting back to Earth? It took a while, but Jeebus was the first of our featured runners to do so, and right now that's where his lead is.
Poydrak making very quick work of Mylon Zed.
Are there any bosses here at Sealed Cave, if you're in Jeebus's cave, that even worry you a little?
At this point, no. I have enough. You have enough levels. You get to reset out of this just fine. But we've already seen, like, Ogopogo's the closest, but we have so many white mages that I wouldn't actually be worried about it.
True.
Oh, Jeebus unfortunately saved.
Odin's down here, but I think this party has enough power to deal with him before the sword comes down.
Yeah. It is definitely a damage race. You would have to defeat him before the sword comes down because that's, I think, 3 to 4k per person in this location, if not more. Uh, but overall, not something I'd be terribly worried about at the levels that Jeebus has.
But we are destined never to know who that boss is.
And we'll see if Poitrak takes a go to the music or follows up on Baron to get effectively just a dead end.
Correct me if I'm wrong, Antidale, but this is Jeebus's final play?
This is the last thing he has available to him except the gauntlet, if I believe.
Well, we get rewarded as viewers either way. If nothing else, we got the music. For those of you in chat that don't know why we're so excited about the music, it's one of the lovely pieces of randomization built into this randomizer. Instead of always getting Edward's tune to bind fairies, one random harp MIDI song that's from some classic RPG game usually gets inserted. And one of the nice things about the new version of the randomizer is that if you don't get around to checking the twin harp, once the credits roll, you can go back into your game and go straight to where Edward is hanging out in the hospital and find out what the song is there.
Yeah, there were a lot of great little quality of life things included in 4.1, and that's definitely one of the excellent ones. The sneaky great one is the ability for your browser to cache your ROM, and so you don't have to keep uploading it constantly. But another great one too is the save point. It no longer pops up the text, which took everyone at least a seat or two to get used to. I know I was continually overrunning that for the first couple seeds, but I've pretty much gotten used to it now.
Oh, definitely. But now that we're used to it, just times when I'm making a full dive into the watery pass and I can just charge straight through that room without the little dog leg is wonderful.
Yep, and Poitrak making the play also to music.
And this is the play that he needed to make to catch up to Jeebus. He is now moments behind Jeebus. Whatever value there is here, he's going to get it just after him. And all of a sudden, we have a very close race once again.
And Jeebus continuing to make good use of the kamikazes, having Fu take out Aurum, and then Rosa take herself out, so that everyone is taking a nap or is otherwise incapacitated, so that Dark Elf does not cast multiple times at the party. And here, Commander Leonhardt will take a small break while Edward gets out of bed and goes struggling to the harp in order to play us a wonderful tune.
And that was some lovely Final Fantasy III music, and have an
Ooh, and a pan as the reward. That is good stuff.
And Jeebus is now on their way to check Sheila 2 and tell us what we've been waiting all seed to find out. Is the alt gauntlet required?
Yeah, we could have a bit of a delay in finding out if we do get the Earth Crystal.
And we will have to wait longer, as indeed the Earth Crystal has been found. I'm going to preemptively rate this treasury 0 out of 10.
I will agree with that rating. I don't think we have to see its emptiness in order to correctly rate it as not worth their time. Poydrak, unfortunately for his time, is going to check out that Baron key he got earlier, which will lead him into Luca, which we'll see if he decides to go after or fade.
You can understand the logic. It's the key item check for the throne, and you can get through it pretty quickly without too much trouble. And on your way, you can swing over and go underground afterwards. You're in the area, get the check out of the way. Fortunately, we know it's not what he's looking for.
Yeah, we'll see if he weighs the known trapdoors being in there as calculus to maybe make him not want to do that check until after doing anything else that's possible to him, since he's already done the harp.
Left Foot Sultan asking what's left other than Top of Zot and Gauntlet. This would have to chain into something else. This could chain to the Rat Tail, and Rat Tail could hand over the package, but right now, those are the only 2 checks Jeebus has open.
Yeah, in order for that gauntlet to not be required, this has to be the hook, and the Rat Tail has to turn into the package. Which would leave the gauntlet as having the Sand Ruby.
Only 2 spots available, Left-Footed Sultan. Rat Tail is still tucked behind and not able to be checked.
Beowulf in chat asking if anyone checked the Baron basement. Nobody has, because there is K summon or K quest is not turned on, so we don't have anything at summon locations.
Easy to forget. Normally the Baron Clay is there as a twofer. This time it's more of a I was in the neighborhood check. Well, we finally have some options for the party. Might be a little too late to exploit them.
I mean, we do still have a spoon, but I don't think Eddie is gonna be making the cut this time.
And likewise, even when you've been up ordeals, Tella just can't compete with a fully.
Oh, Eddie does make the cut though. We could be either being seeing Eddie Foo strats or Eddie Spoon strats.
Jeebus showing us more of the cheekiness of the randomizer. I've never looked into that spot. Didn't realize there was an IOU for a scythe blade.
Yeah, I believe that is a graphical change between the Japanese edition and the US edition, to where we only get the large balls ready to crush you, where the Japanese version has a blade up there. Yeah, it looks like that Edward is taking a nap and won't be getting an experience for this, so it's probably just going to be a very nice anchor for Jeebus's team in the Z fight.
And with the cursed ring, he is just as good an anchor as anyone else. And you have the option of ducking him out to hide in case something goes horribly wrong, and you can swoop back in and save the day. Also worth noting, we don't have any duns from our off-stream runners. Boydrak and Jeebus are not the only two people that dove into this flag set, and no one has gotten through yet.
You know, it feels a little bit bad to have Dr. Dialogue here because he just takes so long to get through with the multi-part fights and the talking. You know, Jeebus is just like, tell me whether or not I have to do that horrible, horrible all gauntlet on the moon.
Well, we are all about to find out in a second here. It is a sand ruby.
Welp.
That's a thing. So that means, everyone, it is a hook at the alt gauntlet and a package at the rat tail.
Jeebus goes in and out of Baron a couple times with having to face that horrible, horrible news. And this is still not a team I really want to do that gauntlet with.
Agreed. There's honestly very few teams I want to do a gauntlet with, but I'm definitely looking at this team and just shuddering at the thought of trying to get through some of those fights in anything resembling a clean manner.
Yeah, and it's not a gauntlet where you can really use hourglasses or anything like that too. And I don't know if we've seen them yet at all from our runners.
I don't remember them, but you know, the behemoths and the dragons and the evil masks, they're all considered bosses. They have that boss bit, and they're just as immune as most other things. Jeeves bracing himself for the fight by talking to some of the Hummingways and again showing off a lot of their helpful advice, such as don't forget the trap chest in the Lunar Pass.
And maybe taking a page out of Flurry's book from the last community race, and is going to be doing some nice renaming.
Yes, looks like he is. Although he's going to have to run that naming way down to finish the job. But yes, Flurry in the community race thanked Ground Flyer for a particularly rude evil wall. And oh
man, and blaming Alicel.
Confused. This isn't Ali's fault, Jeebus. Alicel didn't do this. You need to blame Poydrak. It's not her fault.
Allie's not Inven, who can just normally accept all blame, period. Although I do see Alicel in chat saying, part of me wishes that she had rolled this monstrosity of a seed.
So much. Thanks, Colin, so much. I'll have to let him know if he comes into interview that his gratitude, as it were, is misdirected. I dare say that Poydrak is going to go through every check Jeebus went through before accepting the inevitability of the alt gauntlet. I certainly would.
Yeah, it kind of depends on whether or not you felt behind on any of your routing. Because I could absolutely see feeling like that Life 2 grind took a while and seeing no dot duns yet and wanting to take a gamble.
That is a good point. You could certainly put yourself in a spot and say, if that alt gauntlet is not required, someone would be done now, so I'd better take a shot. We will see how that plays out.
Yeah, it's absolutely one of those things that you'd have to really gauge how comfortable you are and how you think other people went through the seed to feel whether or not it's worthwhile. But it's definitely on the table as a thing you could do.
It's definitely something I'm still working on, getting that sense of how difficult is this seed relatively? What's a normal time for some of the runners that are in it? Is it time for me to make that move? I've certainly made mistakes with it. It's something that I have no doubt that Poydrak and Jeebus have a very fine sense of.
Yeah, and it's really hard to do and do well. You definitely see people uh, say, "Oh, so and so finished," and so I figured it couldn't possibly be in a place when so and so just went ahead and did something a little bit out of character, not to. Like it is a rough thing. Oh my, Eddie is getting a spoon.
And Eddie is out of the anchor position.
Yeah, one neat thing that Jeebus just did was he gave the curse ring to Sid, as well as the dragoon gear, the dragoon armor he got earlier, which effectively turns any elemental, any fire or ice, and I think also lightning elemental based magics into heal spells for Sid there. So he will actually gain HP on any of those types of attacks.
Yeah, that's definitely a heads up play by Jeebus. Another nice thing is that this bard is about to get one, two, three, counting key items. Oh yeah, this bard is about to get quadruple experience for any fight he can survive, being so far behind and with all the key items that Jeebus has.
Unfortunately, that nuke is not going to go so well.
Tried to get it in quick before the wall came up, and oh, have a spoony bard. That may be the definition of overkill.
Yeah, poor Edward. It does prevent Edward from getting walled here, so I guess Fu can berserk him if he wanted, but I don't think it's quite the right call until he gets at least through one of these fights. But it is going to happen because, well, you might as well get some people swinging.
Poydrak has gotten through the Tower of Zot and picked up the Sand Ruby. So, more bad news there. Still doesn't truly know his fate, but it's becoming more and more apparent.
Edward, again, taking some magic on the chin. We'll be taking another quick nap.
And the Evil Mist goes down with no levels for Spoony Bard on the first go.
This is definitely a fight where it is possible for Eddie to get levels, though.
Yes, the Behemoth goes with only physical attacks. Now, the downside of having a cursed anchor for this particular fight is that normally a Behemoth is so slow that you don't have to worry about much more than counterattacks, but that cursed ring is actually speeding him up to the rest of the party.
Man, and Eddie cannot catch a break.
Well, a few things might be broken inside Eddie now, but you're right. No luck whatsoever.
At least it's giving Sid some important jobs to do in terms of throwing life potions at him.
Work that chemist roll, Sid. Work that chemist roll. Oof. Again. Again. Oh my goodness. Bam.
Wow, that board face AI is just saying no XP for that Spoony Bard. There will be none.
Curtain is making a good point. If Eddie could take a turn, maybe just hide. Although he's about to get an illusion up, which for this fight is just as good. I don't think he's even had a turn before he's been smacked down.
No, I don't think so either. And it's going to be pretty important to get a cure off pretty soon for everyone, too. Just because you don't want to keep going into these fights at not topped off HP levels.
And Behemoth is showing off its incredible magic resistance. We've seen Thu laying nuke after nuke into some of these bosses and throws it into a Behemoth and is only doing a little over 2k.
Yeah, we saw Eddie throw out a sub 300 attack with the spoon at level 5, but picked up an awful lot of levels there. We'll be doing a little bit better against that mask.
So the overkill on the nuke will be 10 times instead of 100. But he'll at least hit it hard.
Yep, unfortunately that Cure 4 not going to be so useful. Just not able to get it off in time before the whole party wall. But yeah, that's a solid 2k.
Bouncing for 7k against this evil mask. Poydrak working through the sealed cave only has one trapdoor fight to go. Again with guard.
Wow.
Unbelievable.
Just wow, yeah.
This gauntlet is not a patron of the arts.
Meanwhile, Poydrak is going through the doors that he has to do in order to find that there is just a diamond armor up here.
Round 4 of the gauntlet brings out the red dragon, which is demonstrating that it hits like a truck.
Yeah, and Heat Ray is going to be no fun, except for Sid.
Sid? Yeah, Sid is going to be fine with the Heat Ray. And actually, Sid could solo this. It'll be a while, but that Heat Ray is going to heal the Dragoon Gauntlet that's comboing with the Curse Ring to cause that Heat Ray to heal is also nullifying the damage from the attacks since this is a dragon. And at the rate this is going, Sid might be soloing this.
Yeah, which actually puts him in a really bad spot because you don't want Sid to be your only person in the next fight.
And Inven in chat pointing out that Earth Hammer, being fire-based, is also doing half damage, so it will be an amazingly slow solo move, but we're coming close to it.
I'd definitely be interesting to see any differences that Poydrak has getting through this gauntlet. I don't think he picked up Eddie because I still see Porum in that party. Alright, Rosa doing lots of work healing the party, letting Fu effectively do all of the damage with nukes.
Fu does stand long enough to get another nuke in and puts an end to it. One last fight, yes?
Ooh, and a spicy drop.
Crystal Ring drop. Wow. That is very spicy.
And your prize for getting through one red dragon is 2 more red dragons. And no time in between to equip that crystal ring on anyone too, which is a little bit sad, because that would give you some nice dragon resistance.
Take whatever you can get here. The dragons teaming up on the old man, putting him down quick, causing that elixir to splash on the ground. there's more where that came from, but you hate the loss of the turn.
Yeah, absolutely. That is the most painful part of that you've now wasted a turn with your party.
Voidrak is charging down the LST. We'll probably get into this gauntlet right around the time Jeebus finishes. Maybe a little sooner.
Yeah, this fight's going to take a little bit of time to stabilize. At least I don't think the red dragons do heat ray while there are multiple of them on the field.
Goober asking for an update. The alt gauntlet is holding the hook, which will lead to the package through the rat tail. It's the only way. Everything else has been checked. The last fight of this really rude gauntlet, two red dragons.
But at least you're not worried at all about your levels at this point.
And sure enough, Voidrak making their way into the gauntlet right at the same time. And Goober, no one is done yet. No one else has managed to finish this.
No, which is not really surprising. Taking approximately an hour 50 to 2 hours to full clear a seed, because no one is going to do this fight earlier than these two runners did, I don't think, unless you're taking a heck of a gamble. And it seems like no one probably has. Seems pretty reasonable. Poydrak at least not self-nuking one of his characters right at the beginning of the fight with the Evil Mask, which is a good step up.
Jeebus has managed to get one of the dragons down, and that'll make this a lot easier, only having to fend off half the attacks.
And there indeed is our hook. And we'll see Poydrak roughly do the same dance that Jeebus did, doing a similar thing of putting Sid in the middle. Won't have the Spoony Bard to help out with some damage, but does have levels on Forum who can help out with healing a lot more and will take a little bit better. And both runners are absolutely just checking the if they keep Discord up, are absolutely checking the Discord to see if anyone has done a .done. To just kind of know where they're at.
And speaking of that, Tybalt is our first place finisher with a time of 1:48.56. GG Tybalt on getting through this incredibly rude seed.
Yeah, that is an excellent time for the seed. I wonder if he did indeed gamble on doing that rather than doing some of the other checks that the runners did. Yeah, and Berserk now there are no forfeits, so everyone is doing a great job of just kind of plugging away at the seed, which has been pretty difficult. Commander Leonhardt, are there any sprites that you like to see in the package cutscene as one of those little nice touches of randomization that we have?
Good question. I know a lot of people like to see demist, but I always find that a little odd that the protector of the village would then be burning it down. It's kind of fun when it has something to do with what handed over the package. I don't know if there are any rat tail sprites or little men, but that could work.
Well, how about an old man who probably forgot where he was?
He was in the Tower of Zot, but there might be some sort of Massidian summoner rivalry going on here.
Of course, Jeeves will have a chance to probably decline this forum.
Yep, he does.
Actually,
the cutscene, but he does not have to walk to Kaipo. Can just immediately hop in the airship and fly over to Troilus.
That is very true, and can effectively have 6 people in the party. Well, notionally have 6, not really effectively.
Fun carrying around a character in a little portable hole and just having them off to the side.
And Cuddy in chat asking, so once 1 through 4 are complete, then it's Races Romus. Exactly. This particular flag set requires all 4 objectives to be completed in order to get the crystal. So now that Jeebus has that crystal and has a way to Zeromus, he can go there immediately. And I see a bunch of flags out in the chat. What's that about, Commander Leonhardt?
What that's about is everyone's favorite question. Whose butt are we going to kick tonight? And the reason we don't know is that when Zeromus is transformed with the crystal, instead of changing to his normal sprite, he changes into one of over 400 randomly selected sprites.
Yeah, you'll get sprites from various video games, some sprites from our any tournament winners, as well as a couple other sprites that are just downright funny and humorous. We've seen people fight hummus or a baked potato.
Baked potato is my favorite.
Our restreamer would like to see Clippy Miss. Ultros Miss is one that I've never seen. Was supposed to be in the pool, and one of the community admins is a fan, and it'd be such a shame if they weren't here to see it.
And then with the feels that a lot of us have, baked potato could be destroyed right about now. Would be tasty.
Yeah, a little butter and sour cream on there. I'd be down for that.
Yeah. Here in a moment, we will not need to speculate. Over on Poydrak's side, he's not that far behind. He's in the final Red Dragon fight and will be coming along shortly. And there, he's just now cleared it. I would not at all expect a runner of Jeebus's caliber to have any trouble with this fight with the numbers I'm seeing on the people. Oh, you thought it was Zeromus, but it was me, Diomus.
That is an excellent sprite.
It's no baked potato in my book, but it comes really close.
When we see an early vampire just to nerf the first Big Bang. So anytime you cast a spell at Zeramis, he counters with a nuke. Depending on where you are in the script, that nuke, the nuke will always change the spell power Zeramis sets. So there are certain times in the script where Zeramis sets spell power explicitly to other things, and if you time it right, you can make the spell power used for Big Bang into a much lower number than it normally would be, because the spell power gets lowered for that as opposed to, or it gets raised to cast Big Bang, but lowered for Nuke because Nuke is so powerful.
And the first one is the easiest to nerf. You just have to get the shot in anytime before the Big Bang. Anytime beyond the first requires some very careful timing, especially at high battle speeds.
Yeah, definitely something that takes some in-depth knowledge of Zeramis' script and how the ATB system works in order to reliably nerf anything past the first one. My personal strategy is to just to never worry about whether I need to nerf a second. I'll either have the HP totals or the damage output, hopefully, to not have to worry about needing to nerf a second Big Bang.
It's definitely easier that way, and it's hard for me to imagine a party that gets through that alt gauntlet that still needs to nerf Big Bangs in the Z.
Yeah, absolutely. Wojak getting the quick double turn in to complete objectives number 1 and 2, and is on his way to burn this down with Tella and to collect objective number 4 and the crystal.
We still have no other turn-ins, so Jeeves and Poydrak could be coming in here 2-3.
Poydrak saving the game a little bit of effort. When he parks the airship on the right side of Mist Village, that means the game doesn't have to move the ship for you, but you can always park on the left side of Village with the Enterprise or any of your ships, and you will have the Enterprise show up for you on the right-hand side. Meanwhile, everyone in this team on Jeebus is getting out and pushing towards the damage. We've seen Rosa cast whites, Fu is throwing down nukes, Eddie is attacking with the spoon.
Sid is throwing in the vampire.
And I think it's a really nice touch that Eddie is the one wearing the Star Veil for all of the damage he took, and nukes and whites and whatnot in that all gauntlet to finally be able to bounce them off of his face rather than hit them directly to there.
He suffered so much. Might as well protect him a little bit now. And Jeebus does get a nerf in with that vampire. Well executed with all of the other things happening on the screen. And with that flash, Jeebus is done. Jeebus is our second place finisher and our first restreamed runner to finish with an official time of 1:58.28. GG Jeebus.
Yeah, that is excellently done.
See if he feels like coming in for an interview after dealing with that rough seed. Meanwhile, Poydrak is getting set up for his Z fight, making Fu his anchor and gearing everyone up in preparation.
A little bit interesting putting Fu in the middle to anchor with the couple of white casters too. He might just be going for a straight berserk strats.
A good point, and that does seem to indicate that that is his plan. Steel G, Tybalt's time was 1:48:56. Poydrak will be discovering that it was Dio all along, very shortly. Shake. We have a crystal. In a moment, we have a Dios.
Yep, we got some berserks going out. And it looks like we are joined by Jeebus. GG's, Jeebus, on your second place.
Thank you. That was some kind of sea.
It was. What was your favorite part?
Be right around the time. Can you hear me? I'm sorry.
Yep.
Yeah, you're good.
Okay. Okay, good. Headset's acting up. It's got to be around the time I was doing Twin Harp because I was counting the available checks and the available key items, and I realized, there's about somewhere around a 66% chance that alt gauntlet that Ogopogo is actually required. And I just kept going over the numbers in my head during that entire check, thinking, no way. Come on, is it real? And of course, getting the Sand Ruby at Tower of Zot pretty much sealed that fate.
Chat was doing the same thing, although with a different goal in mind you had.
I'm sure.
And we do have to remind you that it was Poydrak who did roll the seed. So while Ali is doing a great job doing the restreaming.
I'm sorry, Ali. I totally falsely implicated you for rolling this garbage seed. That's totally Poydrak's fault. Thanks, Poydrak.
Speaking of garbage, how did you feel about Eddie constantly getting targeted in that gauntlet fight?
That was pretty amazing. I thought I could be able to at least get him some levels by the end, and I did. But it was basically just the worst person to get targeted over and over again. He was the only one who could not eat the full attack from an evil wall, and also the behemoth, and well, the Red Dragon's heat rays were just basically going to kill everyone, so that was fine.
So I'd like to ask you something about earlier in the seed, because this required alt gauntlet is kind of stealing the spotlight from the fact that this was an overall rude moon on a required K unsafe. What were your thoughts working your way through the moon earlier in the seed?
So, okay, first of all, I had mixed up K Moon and K Summon in my head. That's why I did the goal best at K Bahamut.
It happens.
Yeah, it ended up being kind of useful because that Dragoon armor and the Cursed Ring got Sid through that first Red Dragon's fight. That was my backup plan. But anyway, like a lot of those bosses were kind of rough. And I had gone up there without doing Ordeal, so I was thinking to myself, is this actually a K unsafe seed? What if I should have just done Ordeals and then did a grind at some point and then, done this seed normally? And then I would have had 3 more spells for Fu and all this and that, but when I had gotten through, by the time I had gotten through the Wyvern, at Murasame altar, which I took first for no good reason at all. I was thinking to myself, well, I'm committed now. Let's just go with it. And then karate at D Lunars, that was pretty rough. Who was it at the White Spear altar? I can't even remember at this
I
point.
believe it was Pale Dim.
Oh yeah,
Yes.
Paladin. That was relatively kind, if only because I had found illusions early on in the seed and he had no way of hitting through those. The Demist was... Here's Demist. You know, it doesn't really kill you, but it does kind of take a long time. That was my last check after having peeked at the Alt Gauntlet, and I was thinking to myself, if I don't get something from here, I'm basically going to have to do that Alt Gauntlet. And I really don't want to do that. Because my choices, if that particular check didn't work out, were awful. It was either go back to Earth, hope that Rydia's mom had underground access, or do the Alt Gauntlet and hope that had underground access. Little did I imagine that at least two of those things were true. Demas certainly did have underground access, but so did the Alt Gauntlet.
Yeah, both of those spots required, and it was very nice that you got nuked just before doing that demist. Definitely made that fight a lot easier to deal with.
Absolutely. You can sort of time out quakes in order to hit maybe 2 quakes per round if you're good at it. And I'm not good at it. Let's just leave it at that.
Well, there were plenty of things in this seed that you were good at that you were able to show off with this rough. Required a lot of knowledge of the game to work through in an efficient manner.
Thank you, I appreciate that. And
Yeah, that was really well done to get through that karate fight at those low levels. Those kicks were doing a lot of damage to your party, and you managed to eventually get it stabilized and make it work.
Yeah, I was actually really surprised at how hard that karate was hitting, because I don't know, it feels like you usually get to that spot when you have a decent amount of levels and you can sort of power through whatever it gives at you, but taking it at the levels that I had, I was at like level 30 or so, maybe lower. Yeah, that he just one-hit everybody with his punches and about 3-shot everybody with his kick. That was not a fun fight.
No, not at all. Oh, what sort of notes and stuff did you take for yourself when you saw the flag set?
I was thinking to myself, okay, K main moon. And then in my head I was thinking, so wait, that's only Cave Bahamut, right? And no, it's not only Cave Bahamut. But when I did realize my mistake, I was thinking to myself, well, at least I don't have to do Fey March. I was also thinking to myself, okay, if it's S standard and free, I should go shopping first, because that's the only way I'm going to power up my party. Finding the vampires early on was pretty crucial to my early game, as was finding all the kamikazes and stuff like that. I looked at the unsafe flag and I hoped to myself that there'd at least be star veils. I would really love the life potions, but you can sort of make it work with a Rosa start, so I wasn't terribly concerned about that particular. Yeah, when I look at these flag sets, the treasure and shop flags are the two that I focus in on most. They will definitely have, I believe, one of the greatest effects on how you want to route your game.
Yeah, you made really great use of those vampires and the star veils to bounce a vampire off the wall too against that CPU earlier.
Yep.
As well as the kamikaze to kind of power through that antlion spot too. There's some really nice usage of those items.
Thank you. And before I sign off, I want to give a big GG to Tybalt, who gambled hard on that Alt Gauntlet and won big. You gotta love Rando for that, right?
Yeah, absolutely. That's a heck of a play. And sometimes what you need to do in order to win.
Absolutely. Did you have any more questions for me?
I don't think I do, Commander Leonhardt.
I'm good. Thank you for the final thoughts and the shout out to Tybalt because, yeah, absolutely. That's a bold play to take that when you don't know if it's required.
Yep. Have a great night, everybody, and I hope to see everybody watching, participating, racing in the upcoming Highway to the Threema Zone tournament.
Yeah, absolutely. That's coming up. We'll be having the reveal show, I think, next week around this time. So keep an eye out on the Discord for any information about that. And thank you, Jeebus, for reminding us of that. And thank you for running and allowing us to restream you. It's always a blast. And if you enjoyed watching Jeebus, make sure to give him a follow. And we are now joined by Poydrak, our third place winner, second place on the restream, and first place in our hearts for giving us this Slapdash every week.
You sure? Because
we are now joined by Poydrak, our third place winner, second place on the restream.
Well, I
first
guess everyone was really happy about the Gauntlet of Ogo Pogo, and well. One rule to follow is if you see Gauntlet at Ogo Pogo, alternative Gauntlet at Ogo Pogo, do it. It's usually required.
It does seem to be in the rules that that's true.
Yeah. I seem to have a bad habit of, and I know you remember this particular seed, Antidel. Just before going on to a break for any sort of things, roll in a very evil seed. The one just before Christmas comes to mind.
Yes, I remember that one quite well when I decided to take, I was the first person to take the coward's way out and just say a different day for you, Evil Wall, on this vanilla treasure chest with only like Kane and Tella for team members seed. It was pretty gross.
It was. This one wasn't really nearly as bad, but I'm surprised that it gave us as much as it did.
I mean, this was a masterful roll, so GG's to that.
I mean, we can't have anyone forgetting while we're away from the race for a while what Slapdash is truly capable of.
Oh no, Slapdash is truly capable of, well, evil. And I have to say it's, as sort of the creator of it, it's rubbed off from me.
And I'll say as someone that's only been doing this since Football Gauntlet wrapped up, Slapdash has been a great way for me to dive in and learn a lot about how to work through the game, the various things that the flag sets require.
Yes. One of the things I like about the Slapdash is that it throws you into unconventional situations. Sort of, you have to think up your alternative grind situations at times. And in a time when we're just coming up into the Highway to the Threema Zone 3, although there's things going out there for getting back into the D Machine grind, back into the Mac Giant grind, alternative ways to grind are going to be useful. And the one I did today, while not exactly efficient, is certainly a choice.
Yeah, and that's a good point. There are going to be times when we just don't have either Darkness Crystal or a good source of weak, and we've got to figure out another option, and you definitely want to be prepared for anything that might come your way.
Yeah, it was definitely a nice use of those elixirs you found to make sure that Fu could keep casting Life 2 once you finally got a Size or Toad to land on that Warlock carry chest.
Yeah, I kept looking for a way to get Toad on there, but I think the one of those is actually immune to it, which meant the Toad wasn't going to hit. and I completely skipped over size on Fu multiple times, not actually seeing it. And once I did see it, that made it so much easier. And I really, in truth, I should have demachine grind. Once I had that darkness crystal, I've gone and got a few extra spells on Fu. But to be perfectly honest, I didn't even think about it. I didn't think about how the D machines actually being a thing until Tower. The Tower of Babel down below. And when I thought about it, I thought, oh well, I've done what I did. I got what I wanted out of the moon. If I have to go back there for Gauntlet, so be it. But statistically, going through that rather than checking the entirety of Earth, there was meant to be a better chance that the hook and package was down there. Of course, yeah.
Yes, you got what you got, and it was all through that all gauntlet. And I don't remember when Fu exactly learned weak. I'm not sure you'd have actually gotten it with doing the 2 extra bosses left on Earth, although I guess you could have also gone up to the Mega Sister spot too.
Yeah,
I don't know who got it in those 3 or not.
I think it would have done it from the Mega Sisters one.
But yeah, again,
Yeah.
they're probabilities and not certainties, but that is still, again, that similar sort of long shot. Is this one boss gonna drop that spell in my lap?
Yeah. And I suppose I could have got through Gauntlet earlier as well, just because after that Pale Dim, I did have Nuke available, and that should have been enough to get through the majority of it, especially if I just kept with the elixirs going on through and just kept everyone healthy. But with the dragons and with the dragons in there, there's very good chance that not everyone's going to survive, and I want the experience.
Yeah, I think overall it's the right call to have avoided that. It just happened to be that it was totally required the seed, but wanting to fade that, I am unsurprised that both you and Jeebus took one look at that and reset the heck out and went and did other things.
Yeah, but Slapdash, as I said, puts you in unconventional situations. If you can work your way around it, you're going to do well. Later on, learn. It's a good place to learn, as Leonhardt said. Just figure out what you're doing, read the flags, know what the flags do, and after that, well, you should be ready to at least start speeding up a little bit.
Yeah, and as part of that reading the flags process, what do you normally do as you're reading them and kind of compiling them from what the race bot or your spreadsheet gave you as the initial flag set?
I don't really think about them until I've actually got the seed up in front of me and I'm actually on the on the actual start screen. And I know I've been in at this for a fairly long time now, but I know sort of what the flags are. So I just need to sort of skim through them, just refresh my memory on a few of them. Some of the ones that trip lots of people up, but and including myself, no free bosses. The unsafe flags do that. Missing out on glitches that might be available, and there's a few others. It's just refresh my memory when I'm actually looking at them. When I'm actually translating the flags from my spreadsheet or the race bot random, I don't really think about them because I'm really just concentrating on making sure everything is safely put in place for the race itself, rather than how I'm going to do it until I actually get the seed in front of me.
Then that makes sense. You've got your race coordinator hat doing one job, and you've got your racer hat doing another job, and you certainly don't want them getting any wires crossed.
Yeah, and plus, I really shouldn't be thinking about the flags any longer than anyone else, to be perfectly honest. Just the fact that I get them in front of me a little bit quicker, because I'm sort of setting them up. I really shouldn't be thinking about them any longer than anyone else. So once the flags are there, that's when I start thinking about it. I don't want to have too much of a advantage because I've got an extra couple of minutes. It's just looking at the flags.
Yeah, I think you do a really good job of that. You turn around the initial roll of stuff into what we're actually going to be playing, usually very quickly. And there's not a whole lot of time to think in that amount of time that you turn that around in all the time.
Yeah, and it's all done with your own knowledge as well. The first rule of Sunday Slapdash has always been: do not talk about the flags of Sunday Slapdash until you have completed the seed and you're in the race spoilers. Do run the seed off of your own knowledge, with the obvious helps from trackers if you're using them, and play it to your own strengths. Don't think about anyone else. Play your own game. I'm going to leave it there because it's going to be it's a little bit later now for me. I will just say that Sunday Slapdash, because of Highway to the Zenith Zone coming up, will now be put on hiatus until a little bit later on down the line. I can't say exactly when, but it's likely going to be somewhere around the group stage age starts, maybe a little bit before, but we'll see what happens a bit further down the line, as I said.
That sounds great. And remember, everyone, if you are interested in the Slapdash, either watching or participating in it, it happens every Sunday at 7 p.m. Eastern. And the flags are random. There are a couple of rules with the flags as well, and that it is restreamed every approximate fourth Sunday. Sometimes it'll shift around, whether it's the fourth or fifth Sunday, depending on how kind of the rest of the month falls, so that we don't double up on any of the other community club races that we do during the week. And again, always thank you, Poitrak, for joining us and for putting this on. This has been such a blast to do over the last year or so, probably 9 months or so that I've been doing it. It's done so much, I think, for just being the pilot fun community race that we have, and for just kind of expanding everyone's knowledge of the game.
Have a good evening, everyone, and I'll see everyone soon.
Take care, Poitrak. Had a few other people finish during the interviews. You want to let them be heard. Bad Karma came in fourth with 209.13, and a Stone Dingley came in fifth with 209.40. GG to you both for getting through this brutal seed.
Indeed. And I think that's just about it for us tonight. Do you have any other final thoughts, Commander Leonhardt, before we go raid a different marathon?
Just that it was a great team to work with as always. Lovely doing comms with you, Annadale. Thank you, Alsail, for handling restreaming, and Gundam Pilot Spaz. Good job on the tracking, keeping us straight up here in the commentary.
Yeah, absolutely. And I believe we'll be going to raid Retro Rainbow, who is doing a charity marathon. Looks like they are raising money to try and end homelessness for teens and young adults who identify with any LGBTQIA labels. And two community members, Couch23 and Neon Gray, are running a race, and I believe they might be doing Zemastone flags, but I don't remember exactly their flag set. But we should be going over there and go cheer them on. I believe there is a donation incentive for Silly or Cute for the Z flag, although that might be closed at this point since they have already started the race.
Either way, it's going to be a lovely Z Sprite, and I look forward to seeing what it is.
And thank you all for joining us today on this Sunday afternoon, evening.